Okay, this question is a question that come out of the 10th or ninth edition of the book that you have now, Triola, but I use it every year uh, because it's a good problem to explain to you what z-scores are. Um, Z-scores are a way to make things comparable. In other words, you can compare apples to oranges, and you can compare presidents' heights to basketball heights. It puts everybody on the same scale. The further you are from zero, the more unusual you are to the population. And it explains that in the book in 3.4. Um, First part of 3.4. Uh, the key word here is relatively. Um, you could have redneck disorder and say, well, golly, Shaq is a whole lot taller. Well, yeah, but relatively taller is basically talking about um, in relation to the population. Let me tell you what that means. Let me just try a line over here. What are the requirements for being a basketball player? Well, you have to be able to run, you have to be able to dribble, you have to be able to shoot, you have to be, fairly tall. The only other basketball player I know that wasn't tall was Spud Webb, and he was like 5 foot, and he could dunk. So, um, what I'm trying to get at is if you are a basketball player in the NBA, chances are you're naturally already tall, taller, and than the normal average person. Um, so therefore, Shaq, to use a um, cliche, is a big fish in a small pond because he is a big, tall person, but he's in a population of tall people. Whereas the requirements for being a president in the United States is just to be a natural born citizen of the United States, as well as you have to be 42 or 43 years old. I'm not into that. I'm a math teacher, so I think it's 42 or 43 years old. And there's no requirement on height. So, um, you know, Lyndon Baines Johnson is okay, I had it backwards. Shaq is a little fish in a big pond, and um, since there's no requirements for height of the president, Lyndon Baines Johnson is a big fish in a little pond because there's probably a lot of short presidents because it's not a requirement. Um, and therefore you have the two different populations, but you're comparing them together and find out which one is actually relatively taller. We all know Shaq is taller than Lyndon Baines Johnson, but what about compared to their own population? So you need a z-score, and a z-score is given by the formula z is equal to x minus x bar over n. You can pull this up also in your, let's see if I can find it. I know I've got it in here somewhere. I've got so many applications going on. There it is. I think this is 3 point. Nope, that's not it. There we go. 3.4. I'm going to show you the z-score formula, so you'll know where to look for it in your book. Z-score, basic z-scores. There it is. X minus x bar over the standard deviation, right there. And for population, it's the same thing. You don't have to worry too much about that. also rounds z-scores to 2 decimal places. Z-scores are always in terms of 2 decimal places. So let's go back to our handy dandy whiteboard. Oh, sorry, over the standard deviation. X minus x bar over the standard deviation. So in this case, we need to do two calculations. We need to do a calculation for our precedence, and we need to do a calculation for our precedence as far and our basketball players. I'm trying to find a vertical line here. There we go. And we will go ahead and do our precedence on this side, and we will take that and copy and bring it over here, and we will call this one basketball, or just B. So let's go ahead and plug and chug over here. With a height of 75 inches, well, that's X. So Z to T is equal to 75 minus, I'm going to find the average precedence of the past has a mean of 71.5 and a standard deviation of 2.1, where Shaq is equal to 85 minus 80 over 3.3. So, you take out your handy dandy calculator, and hopefully I won't make a mistake here. Calculator, there we go. Clear, 75 minus 71.5 divided by 2.1, and that gives you 1.6 or 1.7. So the z-score for the precedent is equal to 1.7. Z-score for Shaq is going to be 85, which is 5. 85 minus 5, I can do that. 85 minus 80 is 5. Divided by 3.3, and that gives us 1.5. So the z-score for Shaq, basketball player, is equal to 1.5. Now, since both of these are positive, we're comparing them on the right side. 1.7 is more than 1.5, so that means that compared to their populations, the president, LBJ, is taller than Shaq. In other words, not physically, but relatively. Shaq is a little fish in a big pond. He is a tall, very tall person in a population of tall people. And President LBJ is a tall president in a population of not so tall people. So that's why LBJ is relatively taller. And I hope this helps. This is one of the best problems to show you how to compare two different worlds or two different populations. And you do that by using z-scores. And you just have to memorize one formula, and you can punch it through and compare the z-scores. Okay? And again, I hope that helps.